Hi friends, it's Kristine Vicente with Queen City Stamp Art, and this week I'm going to be sharing a stamp along of holiday projects for Christmas in July. It's a little series that I published earlier this month that I would be sharing, and some of you took advantage of the little special I was offering, and if you made a $50 purchase, you were able to get the kits for all the projects I'm going to share this week in the mail as a special treat and a thank you from me. So I did have a few people who participated in that, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to share the card projects today, but any of you can craft along with me. I will have the measurements for each of the pieces and the scoring guide in the description of the video, so you can take a look at that before you watch the full video and cut yourself a little kit if you'd like to craft along with me. In this video, I'm going to be sharing the stamp set that I'm going to be using, but you can certainly pull any holiday stamp sets out of your stash and use those to craft along with me. So I thought that it would be fun to share some wonderful ideas for Christmas. I know personally I could use a little Christmas right now, and I thought maybe some of you could too. It is definitely a cheery time in the calendar for me, and I love to start thinking about the types of projects I want to make for my holiday. Sometimes when you think ahead, you can actually get some of these things to come together so that they're ready for Christmas, and then that's one less thing you have to do. So I know that I have some coworkers that I really want to treat well this Christmas, and so I think it's going to be really fun to make some of these little gift ideas ahead of time, so I'm all ready to go once the Christmas season is upon us, and it will be soon. It will sneak up on us. It feels really hot and summery right now, but it'll be Christmas before we know it. So why don't we get into the first project? The first project is going to be a card. We're doing a gatefold, a special fun fold. It's a very simple fun fold, but it's really cute, and I think you're gonna love it. So let's get going. Okay, so the stamp set that we're going to be using today is called Holly Jolly, and this product is brand new in the online exclusives for Stampin' Up. It's a beautiful little Christmas set, and it has some really fun sentiments, as well as that are good for inside and outside, as well as some little images that you can use when you're stamping as also to create backgrounds or little focal images like we're going to use in the projects this week. I'm also going to be using, this is another set. This is a bundle that's brand new in online exclusives. It's called the Label Me Grateful bundle, and it's really cute. It's great for thank you notes, of course, and it has a really fun die set. And so we're not going to be using the stamps. We're just going to be using the dies for some of the projects. So I felt like this flower die, this detail flower, was really cute and looked sort of like a poinsettia. And then there's a little leaf. There's some leaf sprigs, which I found very useful for the projects. And then there's a longer leaf, some berries, and some acorns, as well as a little set of oak leaves. And then this really cool die cut panel that we'll be using too in the project today. So today I die cut the poinsettia and the 2 sets of leaves and the panel shape for the card, as you can see by the sample there. I'm going to be using this die set a lot. I'm not going to be using the stamp set at all, but the dies paired with this particular stamp set is a really great pair, and we're going to have a lot of fun this week using these. So I'm going to set this aside here for a sec and pull out the sentiments I need for my project. So I'm going to set that one down and pick it up with my block. And then I have one other for the inside. I'm going to do the bright and happy Christmas wishes. So the outside sentiment says, may the spirit of the season bring you hope, happiness, and love. And then inside it says bright and happy Christmas wishes. And so we're going to make this card today. I'm actually going to gold heat emboss this. If you don't have a set of embossing tools, and I'll show you those in a sec, then you can certainly stamp it with red ink or green ink or black ink. So you can go ahead and pick any of those and it will be absolutely fine. The heat embossing, if you've never done it before, you need a heat embossing tool. A hairdryer will not work. It will not get hot enough. But a heat embossing tool will. It gets very hot This is my heat gun. We're going to be using Versamark ink to stamp the images with, and then it's a very sticky ink. It's a watermark ink, but it works great for heat embossing because it's so sticky. The metallic gold powder will stick to it, and then we can heat the powder to melt it, and it will give it an embossed, raised texture. I have a little brush too because the cat and the dog got together and were partners in crime, and apparently the cat took off with my powder bag that I used to dust for static, and then she dropped it on the floor and the dog chewed it up. So I don't have that anymore, so I only have the brush. So I'm going to find a way around that, but just so you know, that's why I'm not dusting my panel with a powder brush. I mean a powder bag. So for this particular card, I do have the measurements in the description of the video, but I'll reiterate them very quickly. The card base measures 11 by 4 1/4, and what I've done is I've scored it at 2 3/4 on this edge. So I laid it on my trimmer and scored it at 2 3/4. Then I took it out and flipped it around and did 2 3/4 again. And what that does is it gives us this really nice gatefold where the flaps there fold in on each other, and this is the base for our card. Okay, there's going to be an inside panel that measures 4 by 5 1/4. I cut 2 of these in white, and then I have a little strip of designer series paper left over from last Christmas. This is the Take a Bow, or Take a Bow, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Take a Bow designer series paper. It was sold as a bundle with the bow dies, and I'm just using a little scrap of that for the inside to decorate the inside of my panel. So those are those pieces, and this piece measures 3/4 of an inch by 4 inches, and then this piece measures 3 3/4 by 5, and this is a layer that will go on top of one of the white pieces. Then for the these little components, as I mentioned, I die cut those out of the set. You'll probably just want to make sure that you have some kind of a panel that measures at least about 3 1/2 inches long by 2 1/4 inches wide. That's kind of the size of this piece that I'm going to use to stamp my sentiment, okay? And then pull a couple sprigs and a flower from your stash, and you'll be able to decorate your panel really nicely, okay? So I'm just going to set this aside. I'm going to leave my white pieces here because I want to stamp those. And let's get started. So as I said, I can't dust these with the little powder bag to remove the static, so I'm going to do my best to just stamp them nicely, and if I have to brush off any flecks, then I will. But I'm going to ink up my sentiment. This is my sentiment for the outside, and I'm just going to center it in the top portion of this panel here. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to stamp this on the inside of my card, like that. Then what I like to do is I have a little coffee filter here, and I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to sprinkle my powder over my stamped piece like that. Not bad. I'll use my little brush to just get a few of those little speckles off, and I can see some spots where I might need a little bit more, so I'll hit it again. There we go. And that's my little sentiment for the front. And then for the inside, just sprinkle that over there. I missed a little bit of the bee. And that looks beautiful. And now I'm just going to tip this back into my jar and set this aside. And I'm going to get out my heat tool here and start warming this up. Now, you may not be able to, I think you'll be able to hear me over it, but I'm just gonna, it's gonna have to warm up a tiny bit. And this gets very, very hot, so I can tell when it's ready to start melting the powder. And I'm gonna very carefully hold this and just keep moving it around until the powder melts. And you can definitely see when that happens, it turns very bright and light, but you got to keep moving it so you don't burn the paper. Here it goes. Okay, there we go. So now this is all heat embossed, and it's amazing. This is really the magic of stamping. And like I said, if you don't have the gold embossing, your card will still look beautiful. Just use a regular ink pad to do your stamping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this little piece of designer series paper to the inside of my card, just to add a little bit more color and festiveness. And I'm just going to put it in here so it's like about a 1/4 inch up from the bottom, across the bottom, so there's still plenty of room for me to write my little sentiment on there. And then I'm going to glue this to the inside of my card. And because the heat embossing kind of warped the paper a little bit, I'm just going to be really generous with the adhesive on this so that it lays down nice and flat. And I'm just centering this panel on the inside of my card. Just like that. That looks great. Then I'm going to add these layers together. So I just took these 2 pieces. I used the Eyelet 3D embossing folder for this panel. I think it looks really, really nice. And again, when I do embossed panels, I like to be very generous with the adhesive also, because I feel like the embossing kind of makes the edges stick up a little bit, and you can see gaps if you don't glue it down really well. So I'm just going to center this panel, these 2 panels together. And then this piece is going to actually be glued just to the top portion of my card, because if I glue it to both, then the card gets glued shut. So I just want to glue it to this portion. So what I like to do with this is I like to glue the top, and then I also like to glue the card base, because then I know that there's enough adhesive on there. And so I'm just going to center this top to bottom and side to side, just like that. And now you have this really cool gatefold that looks like a regular card from the outside, but then when you open it, it opens a little bit more, you know, a little differently, a little bit more unique. So for this beautiful gold embossed panel, I'm going to use some dimensional adhesive to kind of pop this up. Okay, and I'm just going to center this top to bottom and side to side, just like that. And then I'm going to add my dimensional to the back of the flower. And stick that onto the front of the card, right at the bottom. And then I'm going to use some of these sprigs. And initially I thought I would do one on each side, but I realized that they're both going the same direction, and so it looks a little bit funny. But I think if I trim it down a little bit, so I'm going to trim off some of the bottom part of the leaves, and do that on this one as well. I think I should be able to add these, maybe with a little bit of wet glue. And just kind of tuck it in like that. And I'll be able to do this one on the other side without that, you know, the curve. By cutting off part of it, you kind of eliminate the curve of it a little bit, like this. And that's that looks really, really pretty. And then I thought for to decorate the projects this week, I'm going to be using these druzy gems. Now these druzy gems were they were introduced last Christmas in the holiday catalog. They're extremely sparkly. They're silver and gold. You get both, and you get 2 sizes, a large and a small in each color. So they're really, really pretty and fun for projects like this. So On this project, I thought I would use a gold one, and I'm just going to put it in the center of the flower. I think that looks really, really pretty, and it adds just that extra little bit of sparkle to the card. And that's it for the project today. So it's a fun little gatefold card, and I hope that this inspires you and kind of gets you in the Christmas spirit. I've got a fun treat box tomorrow, so be sure to check back tomorrow for project number 2. Thanks so much for watching.